Welcome back to yet another history lesson with me, where today we're going to continue to look at our new historical inquiry question that we started to look at last lesson, and to continue with our learning objective, which is to identify and describe significant people and events. Okay, so last lesson, you should be now able to know who Boudica is, but this lesson, by the end of it, you should be able to tell people why she is so important. Okay, and again, you're going to be able to identify what is relevant and not relevant to our historical inquiry question. You're going to have been able to answer historical questions, and you're going to be able to draw some more conclusions. Okay, so again, guys, working through these just like we did last lesson. Okay, so that's what you'll be able to do by the end of this lesson. Okay, so as we know from last lesson, our new history inquiry question is, who was Boudica and what was her significance? Okay, and now to help us answer this, that last lesson we looked at who was Boudica, and we're going to have a quick recap of this before we look at today's question, which was, what was Boudica's significance? Okay, so let's have a little recap. Last lesson, we found that Boudica fought against the Romans some years after the Romans invaded England initially. Okay, and here we can see it. She fights back in 60 AD, and we also learnt that it was also before Hadrian and Hadrian's Wall. Okay, so it was in between those two events that we have looked at previously. Okay, so we also learnt last lesson that Boudica was married to the king of the Iceni tribe in eastern England, and back then parts of Britain were ruled by the Roman Empire. Not all of Britain, but some parts of Britain. Okay, and the king trusted the Romans and promised to leave half of his land to them and half to Boudica, his wife. Okay, but when he died, the Romans took everything and were very cruel to Boudica and her two daughters. So the Romans broke that promise. Okay, and this infuriated Boudica, and she decided to rebel and fight back against the Romans because the Romans broke their promise. Okay, so Boudica gathered an army and started to fight back. But when this happened, the Roman army was fighting in North Wales, and they were too far away to save some of the Roman towns that Boudica's army attacked. And her army destroyed the towns of St Albans, Colchester, and London, and her army killed thousands of people. But when the Roman army returned, it tricked Boudica's army into a narrow valley where it was trapped and beaten. And this was called the Battle of Watling Street. And afterwards, Rome ruled most of Britain for 350 years. So hopefully you managed to remember most of this from last lesson. Okay, now this lesson we're looking at, what was Boudica's significance? So now we know who she was and what she did. Now we want to know, what is her significance? So first of all, what does significant mean? Pause this video, have a little think, maybe have a little discussion with somebody in your household, as they might be able to help you. What does significant mean? Okay, so pause the video, have a little think. Okay, so welcome back, guys. Hopefully you've been able to have a little think or talk to somebody in your household as to what does significant mean. So significant means great or important. So today we're actually going to be looking at, why was Boudica so important and why is she remembered? And this is exactly what this question just means. Why was Boudica important and why is she remembered today? Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at. So to help us answer this, we're first of all going to look at the impact Boudica had on the Romans and how it affected the Romans taking over Britain fully. Because remember, they only had control over some parts of Britain, not all of it yet. Okay, and then we're also going to look at what the Romans felt about Boudica. And by looking at these two things, it's going to help you answer this big question of what was Boudica's significance by the end of the lesson. Okay, so first of all, let's have a little look at the impact Boudica had on the Romans. Okay, so I've got a little video clip for you to watch. Okay, it's not very long. Okay, so just have a little listen as to how Boudicca could have impacted on the Roman army. Okay.
Ron, remind me exactly what happened here in Colchester. Surely we Celts didn't get the better of your splendid Roman army.
Can't quite remember, to tell you the truth.
Can't you? I think I may be able to. I believe it had something to do with Boudicca, who, if my memory serves me well, wasn't only a Celt, but a woman. Hey, and a very brave one too.
Boudica? Never heard of her. Who's she when she's at home?
Well, I expect your gadget will be able to tell us.
Very well.
Boudica was queen of the Iceni tribe, a group of Celts who lived north of Colchester. When the Romans first conquered Britain, they left the Icenes alone. But when Boudica's husband died, everything changed. They took the Icenes' land, whipped Boudica, and attacked her daughters, forcing her to take revenge. Boudica led the Icenes in a raid on Colchester. They set fire to the city and went on to burn down London and St. Albans. At first, they didn't face much opposition, but the Romans were soon able to put up an impressive fight and take charge again. Boudica is believed to have killed herself rather than be shamed by her Roman enemies.
Okay then, guys. So the impact Boudica had on the Romans, and hopefully just by watching that video, it's going to help us think about some of these questions. Okay, so what was Roman England like before and after Boudica's rebellion? And what cities did and didn't she destroy? Okay, so just pause the video, have a little think about these two questions here that I've just asked. All right. Okay, welcome back, guys. Hopefully you've managed to have a little think about these questions here. So first of all, let's have a little think about what was Roman England like before and after Boudica's rebellion. So before Boudica's rebellion, the Romans would have been able to take over some of the tribes and some of the land in Britain. So they would have built lots of different buildings to show them that they were Roman lands, okay? And these buildings would have been very expensive, very big, okay? And they would have been very, very proud of what they'd managed to build and conquer in England, okay? And now the next question, what cities did and didn't Boudica destroy, okay? Now, as we can see on this map here, that she destroyed Colchester, London, and St. Albans. And so she started from her Iceni tribe and her army worked her way through these cities where she then met the Roman army here, which is where the big Battle of Watling Street happened. Okay. And now, if we have a look over here, we can see that the red dots and the red squares represent and shows what were Roman cities. So if we have a look at Colchester, we can see that it was a Roman city. If we look at St. Albans, we can see it was a Roman city. If we look at London, we can see it was a Roman city. So she only destroyed Roman cities. So she would have destroyed millions and millions of millions of worth of different buildings. And so the Romans would have lost a lot and they would have felt quite defeated. Okay, so the impact Boudica had on the Romans then, she destroyed lots of Roman cities, which would have cost the Roman army a lot of money and time to rebuild. It also would have made them furious and more determined to take over Britain fully. She killed thousands of Roman soldiers, which again would have made the Romans really furious and even more determined to take over Britain completely. It took longer for the Romans to fully take over and be in charge of the British people, because before invading other cities, they would have had to rebuild and recreate the cities that they'd already previously done. Okay, and then finally, as already spoken about, it cost the Romans a lot of money. So Boudicca actually delayed the Romans fully taking over Britain and cost them quite a lot of money, a lot of upset, and it also caused a lot of fury. Okay, so that was the impact Boudicca had on the Romans. Okay, so let's look at the second part then. That's going to help us answer what was Boudicca's significance. And here we've got what the Romans felt about Boudicca. So let's have a little look at how that links to what was Boudicca's significance. So here we've got Dio here again, like we've used before, a Roman historian. And he said, a terrible disaster occurred in Britain. 2 cities were sacked, 80,000 Romans perished, and this ruin was brought upon the Romans by a woman, which shamed them. Their leader and who directed the conduct of the entire war was Boudicca. Now, it's really, really important to highlight here that this war was all started by a woman, okay? And so some questions to consider here is, what did the Romans think about women? And how did the Romans feel about being beat by a woman? And what was the impact of this? Okay, so just pause the video, guys. Have a little think about these 2 questions here that I've just asked, and then come back once you've had a little think or a little discussion with somebody. Okay, welcome back, guys. Hopefully you've managed to have a little think about what did the Romans think about women. Okay, so what we can see from here, from this quote here, women were not as strong as men according to the Romans, and the Romans also believed that women should not have been leaders. So this would have infuriated the Roman army because it was a woman who attacked and rebelled against the Romans, and Boudicca caused quite a stir and quite a lot of things and problems for the Romans, and they weren't able to defeat her straight away. It took a lot of time, and before they managed to destroy her, she managed to destroy a lot of the Roman army and empire within Britain. Okay. Hopefully you also managed to think about, how did the Romans feel about being beat by a woman, and what was the impact? So again, guys, we can see here it says, which shamed them. So the Roman army felt very shameful by Boudicca, and by the fact that Boudicca had managed to beat some of the Roman army and to defeat some of the things that the Romans had created within Britain. So this would have made them furious and more determined to take over Britain fully. Okay, so your task now is to complete the question of what was Boudicca's significance. Now on Teams, there is this worksheet here that you can answer these questions, or you can just write these questions down, guys, and then just email it across to us. Okay, so in order to answer this question of why was Boudicca so significant, we're going to answer these 3 questions here. So this first question here is, what impact did she have on the Romans? So here, think about which cities Boudicca destroyed and how the Romans felt about this. Think about how many Roman soldiers she'd killed. Think about money. Think about time. Think about that it would have taken the Romans much longer to come and conquer Britain fully. Okay. Then over here we've got this question of, why did the Romans think about Boudicca? Oh, sorry, what did the Romans think about Boudicca? Okay. Think about what the Romans thought about women and why. Think about how the Romans felt about being a little bit defeated and beat by a woman. And think about the impact on other women of this. And then finally, guys, this is your own opinion here. Why do you think we remember Boudicca today? And by answering these 3 questions here, it would have meant you would have answered this big question here of, why was Boudicca so significant? Please, guys, write in full sentence and paragraphs so it makes more sense to us. Okay, again, just like I've said, this sheet is on Teams, so you can type in your answers, or you can just write these questions down and write answers underneath them and email them across to us. Okay, so we look forward to receiving your answers and your work. So please remember to do that. Okay, and that today ends today's lesson. So thank you very much for listening, guys, and hopefully you've managed to get something from this. Thank you.